Hi, and welcome to Sequential Artifacts, a series about comic book history and culture, profiling comics from my personal collection. The basic unit of measurement in film is the frame. Frames make up shots, shots make up scenes, scenes make up a film. But it all begins with a single frame. We call the study of the film frame mise en scène, French for the staging of everything within the frame. The composition, the set, the costumes and props, the lighting, everything that is designed. And all of it is connected to the narrative and the meaning of what is happening at that moment in the frame. In film, there are essentially three perspectives the camera can take to form that frame. These perspectives dictate the psychology of the camera, the visual meaning of shot framing and angles, where the director and cinematographer place the camera and how they establish its perspective impacts how images are experienced by the audience. These camera perspectives are called objective, subjective, and point of view, or POV. While you may never have referred to them by name, you know them well. You've been seeing them your whole life. The objective perspective of the camera is the most common. The camera is placed, and thus experienced, outside the frame. The film has established its own world, and we are spectators of that world, outside the frame. The subjective view, as its name suggests, moves the viewer inside the film's world. The camera becomes the viewer's eyes. We are inside the action of the frame. This is a stylized convention that acknowledges the audience as participant and can be seen in moments when actors engage the camera, thereby us, directly.
What's it all about? Know what I mean?
Lastly is point of view. The camera becomes a character in the film. It sees through their eyes. The camera is the action. Most of us will recognize this perspective from another medium. It is an entire genre of video game play, and that has bent back to influence this perspective's use in film. POV is something very special, and is used sparingly in cinema, as it can become exhausting for viewers. Some films have attempted to use this technique entirely, but most use it sparingly for the great impact it can have. By assuming the perspective of a character, viewers gain a psychological link to that character, enhancing the emotional experience. Video games and films aren't the only visual medium to apply POV. Comic books have as well. Here are my favorite comic book covers that use the POV perspective. Okay, so starting off, this is kind of fun because this is a comic we've seen in a previous video before. This is an issue of Wild Dog. This premiered in the video for a 4-part series. And here starts off the most common tradition for POV, and that is we see the hand of the person whose POV it is. So here we are pointing at Wild Dog in the photo here. And many of the comics that we're about to see in this POV series use that same device. We see the hands of the person whose POV perspective we're seeing from. Here is an issue of Daredevil, 103, and here are 2 hands that we see Daredevil coming at the enemy in this picture. Here's Miss Marvel, number 7, where it's one single hand holding the cell phone. We see a disgruntled Logan Wolverine here who's not happy about getting a selfie with Miss Marvel. Here's an issue of The Penguin, number 4. This is by my favorite comic book writer, Tom King. He's the absolute best, I think. Here we see the Penguin sitting across from someone that he's at a gambling table. Here's the hand holding the coin. Here's an issue of Dazzler. I love this, holding a record. If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to hold the comic like we see the hand in each image. That's called meta. Dazzler number 29. This has also made a previous appearance in Breaking the Fourth Wall. Right here we see Doom's hand ripping through the comic. So the fourth wall is this meta aspect of ripping through the top page of our comic, in this case the cover. We see the hand, the POV of Doom here, and then also another type of POV perspective use is we see the reflection somehow of the person's POV. And so we're going to look at a series of those reflection POVs, but this is Fantastic Four 258. Next is this issue of The Guardian number 1. Here we go. This is just a one shot here, but we see, of course, the hands of the person whose POV we're seeing from, and there is their reflection in this coffee mug. Another issue of Daredevil 106 here. Here's Daredevil's reflection in the face of this individual. So we got Daredevil's POV here. I really like this issue. By the way, this story by Grant Morrison and J.H. Williams III, fantastic little run in Batman here. This is Batman 667, where we see sort of old school Batman and new school Batman here. So not only do we see Batman's hand, we see partial silhouette in the glass here and his reflection in the blood. So this sort of has a triple POV perspective going on here. This is a great issue of Powers. Powers, what is that? Powers 25 here, where we don't necessarily see the hand of the person that we're seeing the POV of, but we know someone is right on the other side of this cover and it's their POV. And here we see the detective presenting his badge to us. It's kind of a clever use of POV that doesn't show any particular body part. Here's another issue of Batman. Once again, another great Batman writer, and this is a newer issue. This is Tom Taylor. But here's kind of great because we don't see the hands, which we typically see, but the feet. The feet of the person's who POV that we're getting. I love Janen's art. Now this is somewhat of a sort of subgenre of this genre, and that is POV from the grave. Now, many of these POV from the grave shots, and there are many, don't necessarily show the hands or body part of the person. So I don't necessarily think that many of these are POV shots, which means from the perspective of a person, we're seeing through their eyes. It's just the camera angle in most of these is from inside the grave, and there are a dozen or more covers like this, but only a few that actually are the POV of the person. And we get that when we see hands or some other body part that expressly kind of shows us that we are looking through the eyes of this person. Here's a great cover of Daredevil 5. This was from Mark Waid's run, and drawn by Samney, whose work is really great. And here's another cover like that in that subgenre. And this is probably my second most valuable comic that I have. This is a pre-code horror comic, Witch's Tales. And so once again, like the Daredevil comic, we know this is POV from the grave, not just low angle from the grave, but POV of the individual being buried alive. And here are the hands of that person reaching out, just like we saw in that Daredevil comic. It's a pretty rare comic here. This is a very, very special issue of Nightwing. We see that we are looking through his eyes. We're about to put on our domino mask here. But what's great about this is also Taylor, who wrote that issue of Batman. He's fantastic. He's probably my second favorite writer behind King, contemporary writer, writing superhero comics today. But this entire issue is from the POV of Nightwing, and page after page of POV. Okay, so for our last cover, I want to go down in the basement and take a look at a very special comic that I have. But before that, I want to show you some comps of this comic online to show you just how special this comic book is. And then we'll go down to the basement and take a look. Hey, buddy. What the heck is this? There's only one comic I keep in the safe right now. And I'm going to have to black this out to protect the combination, of course. And here she is. All right, let's head back upstairs. What is all this stuff here, buddy? What the heck? I'm down here! What? Ah! Ah! No! No!